Is it the best Chiefs pregame show out there, or is it the only Chiefs pregame show out there? No matter. Kingdom Kickoff is here, and we've got your back live before your naked, steaming eyes here on a beautiful NFL Sunday. And back from God knows where, Rich Baldinger is out of the darkness and into the light, back in our lives. And I've just seeing this setup right here, these three boxes here on a beautiful NFL Sunday. Rich, it just makes my day here. How's it going?
Well, it's doing great, guys. Great to be back here with you. I apologize, but our men and women in the armed services sometimes needs the services of my company. I'm always out there to support them. So sometimes I have to leave the Chiefs kingdom, but there are some bigger things in the world happening, but not bigger than right now. You know, you look at China. This guy Xi Jinping won another term. Well, let me tell you something. This pregame show has won another term. And we will be the only show in town, as I am the premier ruler for another 5 years.
Man, that is just absolutely tremendous. We're getting into things here. It's Chiefs and 49ers. It's today. Kickoff at 3:25 here on Fox. It's a big game here, coming off of a very hard-fought loss over the against the Buffalo Bills last week. So, wow, we got our good friend here, Pete Stonebreaker. This is the best Chiefs pregame on the planet. That is amazing. And we're going to go right to a question for Rich from Pete. Rich, how do you feel about key 49ers returning from injury today? The Niners, Rich, getting healthy at the right time. They get Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Jimmy Ward, and Sam Ekebom back. So the Niners getting healthy at the right time. Can the Chiefs still kind of take advantage that Niners have been the walking wounded, and they've just been an up and down team here this season?
Yeah, they have been. That you offensively, the run game, it's all Kyle Shanahan's game's all about the run game, just like his dad, Mike Shanahan. It leads to the play action and eventually to your chances taking the ball, throwing down the field for Garoppolo. So, yeah, the offense line, plus they got McGlinchey back at right tackle. Yes. So I think this is the first game where actually they're all starting five when they came out of camp are going to come together. So it will be a challenge for the Kansas City Chiefs. As we saw last week, struggled a little bit in the run defense. On the other side of the ball, guys, listen, I know defensively for the Chiefs, there were always going to be question marks. But the one area I thought that we shouldn't was the offensive line. I thought that was the one area where we say, okay, we can lay our hat on. Every week it's going to be at the level of what we saw against Tampa Bay. Didn't see that last week against Buffalo. So the challenge is for them. You know, we've got to be able on that side of the ball, give Patrick time. You've got to be able to let him set his feet. I know Patrick is a magic man, but when he's running for his life, when three people rush the quarterback and you have six blocking and they still get a sack or pressure, unacceptable. When you can't finish the game in the fourth quarter because you can't run the ball, unacceptable. So that's my point. Hopefully today we'll find a way to get it done against what the top defense in the league, number 2 rush defense, number 2 pass defense. So there are some challenges today for us.
Yeah, and like you talked about the Chiefs not being able to run the ball, they've made a change there all week. Getting the first team reps was Isaiah Pacheco, and so we see it here. Pacheco's bound to start here against the 49ers. Them's be the breaks for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, former first-round pick. Not getting it done, too horizontal, too indecisive, and so they're going to the guy that runs full steam ahead. He's going to run over you. He's going to run north and south. What do you think of this move, Rich?
Well, I think, you know, that in the National Football League, guys, you just need depth at this position. You know, it's one play away from a sprained ankle or anything. I think all the players give us, you know, opportunities. You know, Clyde, I think, is better bouncing to the outside, you know, stretch bounce play. I think it would be good. Maybe downhill, not as much. McKinnon, I think, is your guy between the tackles. So, listen, whoever they put in, I think is going to give effort. I just think up front have to play better. You know, I know Trey Smith has been hurting at the right tackle. I mean, at the right guard position with that ankle. I mean, Wiley's out of position. Orlando Brown, we've talked endless about him at that side. So, to believe me, guys, I think right now with what's up front's happening, it doesn't really matter a lot of times who you have running the ball. If you're not creating a hole or sustaining blocks or getting where you need to be, it's going to be tough afternoon. And this will be a challenge. And believe me, I don't want to go into a bye with another loss. Because everyone says, well, after the bye, it's an easy schedule for the Chiefs. No. We've got some issues that need to be solved right now if the Chiefs want to be there at the end and make it to a Super Bowl again.
Yeah, let's look at some of these injuries real quick here. I mean, Eric Armstead, the defensive tackle, is out for the 49ers. Questionable are our good friend and buddy, Trevarius Ward and Talanoa Hufanga. He's kind of come on in his second year here in the NFL. He's kind of like a Troy Polamalu all over the backfield there. Safety for the 49ers. Those two are questionable. For the Chiefs, Mike Dana, Joe Thuney, questionable. I think Joe Thuney's going to give it a go, but that's going to be interesting because they've got a good defensive front. If Nick Bosa is going to be twisting and running games and coming in, you want Joe Thuney to be able to handle that pressure on the inside, help out Orlando Brown. Out again are Rashad Fenton. Trent McDuffie's still not quite ready. They probably want to give him this week, and they know they have a bye week, so some extra rest to get him back. So again, Joshua Williams, we saw him give up 2 touchdowns against the Buffalo Bills. He will be out there and counted on again. So what do we make of these?
Well, I think with Joshua Williams, it's quite simply the young man's learning the NFL game. He's learning about how good receivers are at creating separation, getting vertical in routes. Why wouldn't you put a safety over top for him?
Yeah.
I understand that you're going to blitz. I understand that. But I know one thing, if I've got a rookie out there, and I understand they're learning. They've got to learn. They've got to find out, hey, can they play in the National Football League? But at least let's give them some help. Let him say, hey, you got somebody over top, play physical, because that's what Coach Spagnuolo wants. He wants those corners to get in there mixed up with body blows, get the hands in there, hold people, reroute them. It's tough when the rookie's out there. When he's thinking, you could see him. He's trying to, I want to step the right way. I don't want to do this. You could almost just see it in the way after the snap of the ball. So let's give him some help over the top. He's going to need it. You know the 49ers are going to isolate him today wherever he's out in the field. So let's try to support him, whether inside with linebacker or over the top with the safety.
Well, Rich, of course, the big news this week was the 49ers acquiring running back Christian McCaffrey, and we have a question here. How big of an impact will Christian McCaffrey have? And to add to that, when you look at the San Francisco 49ers roster, and we know that this has been an up and down team, and kind of what's going on with them offensively, they lose Trey Lance week 1. Jimmy Garoppolo kind of comes in and provides some stability, I guess, but he's so up and down. But you have a roster that's really not bad when it comes to skill position players. We know about Deebo Samuel. Brendan Ayuk quietly is having a tremendous season. We know George Kittle. Juwan Jennings as their third receiver might be a player that I would take over any receiver the Chiefs have. And then to top it all off, you've got Jeff Wilson, who's already rushed for 400 yards this season. So for the Niners, is this just a matter of trying to stockpile more talent? Or is this just almost, for lack of a better term, Rich, trying to kind of polish a turd here with this addition?
Well, to any team, Christian McCaffrey walking on a team as a former lineman, I'm telling you, you're going to be smiling because you know this guy, anytime he touches the pigskin, something's good going to happen. He's a great guy, understands the game. Look at most teams he wouldn't even play. They said that he got there, was already immersed in the playbook. So he's comfortable. I think they'll find a way to just get him in some swing passes, get him in the open field. He's such a good athlete. But I think it goes back to one thing, Clint. I think with this situation with the quarterback, Trey Lance being injured, out, and then Jimmy Garoppolo comes back from injury, I think no matter what level of football you look at, from Pee Wee all the way to the National Football League, when that quarterback position is going through changes, it just changes the offense. It just has a different dynamic. Sometimes I can't even put it in words, but just when that different quarterback walks into the huddle, do the players think different things? Yes, they do up front. Is this guy going to hold the ball? Is he going to get rid of the ball? Do I feel comfortable with him or not? Or I haven't worked with him in the offseason. Now it was a Trey Lance. Now it's Jimmy Garoppolo. So I think that's why sometimes it just takes a while when you make that change to that position to get a comfort level, get everybody on the same page. Even the way they make the snap count, even the way they make the audibles, what they look at, all those little nuances, the shifts, how long does he let a guy go before he snaps the ball? It's all different. All that changes. So that's why I look at them. And, I don't know what the deal is with Trey Lance. It just seems like he's a guy who's maybe not ready yet, needs another year of learning this NFL game, where to go with the ball, know the hot reads, the blitzes, and all that. And as you come from college and the spread, you come in the National Football League, the knowledge level increases so much. I think the young man's probably got another year of just learning. So luckily for San Francisco, Jimmy Garoppolo is there for him. Because if anything, you got a seasoned veteran.
Yeah, and with Christian McCaffrey there coming over, like Clint talked about, you got Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, that run game that Kyle Shanahan and the Shanahans are known for. He's got Mike Shanahan, his dad, up in the booth helping him out as well with the offensive game plan, that run game and the zone run scheme that they do. How big of is the addition of Willie Gay coming back from his suspension, Darius Harris out, who performed well while Willie Gay was out, but how big is it to get that athleticism back with this run game coming in?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, Willie Gay had shown you his ability to go sideline to sideline. I mean, if you want the prototypical linebacker now, the Chiefs have both of them, and Nick Bolton and Mr. Gay. I mean, both of them together, sideline to sideline, 3 down on the field, never come off coverage, can bring the blitz, can step up against the run, disengage against some of those huge offensive linemen that are coming at him. So I think it just brings leadership back to them. It gives them a chance. Again, a guy who sees things before it happens. He's a coach on the field, helping it. And when you've got as many rookies as we do on that defense, it's getting to the point now, you got to have a Rolodex to know who's in that secondary right now for the Chiefs. Anytime you bring a veteran player like that can maybe cheat a little bit, a cover 2 drop, he might take an extra 1 or 2 steps just to help his corner a little bit. Keep an eye out there, support. It's always good to have guys like that on the field because they just know the game before the play happens. They see it before it happens, gives you an extra step.
Rich, I want to talk about the pass rush position here at defensive end for Kansas City as people are kind of clamoring for as we get closer to the trade deadline. Can you bring in another pass rusher here? And Rich, I'm looking at this and looking at the resources and the draft stock that we've put in to try to bring in pass rushers here. George Karlaftis is a rookie, a first-round pick, who has a half a sack. That's not good enough. Frank Clark has come here, commanded a huge contract. He hasn't performed up to that. You bring in a Carlos Dunlap here, a veteran who's provided a solid veteran presence. But Mike Dana, you drafted Josh Kane, though. These guys that are just kind of in and out, rotational guys, not really, superstars by any means. So what do the Chiefs do here? They've thrown the ample amount of resources, draft picks, and yet people are still like, can we bring in a pass rusher here by the trade deadline? Like, I don't know what else I can do for you here. We've seemingly done it all with this roster when it comes to DN.
Yeah, and you're hoping that Brett Veach finds another person. I mean, I just think of Purnell. He brought in the defensive line the year we went to Super Bowl to help against the run defense, was such a good player. So you're hoping that there's somebody out there. Kelsey rearranged his contract this week, so they're free up, a couple $1 million. So, going out before Kelsey did that, the money just wasn't there for the Chiefs to go even look at anybody right now. And this will be an issue going into the offseason this year because you're on both sides of the ball in terms of edge, tackle on offense and on defense, edge rushers. I mean, this is somebody – I'm just waiting for the next Derek Thomas to show up. I don't know if you guys have got any inroads to that, but I'll be glad to see.
Looking into it as we speak, yes.
And luckily we did get Carlos Dunlap because from the edge, we're just not getting what we need. And Chris Jones really battling in there by himself, but nobody really next to him where you've got to slide protect or now they can't double team Chris Jones every time. So it is frustrating, no question about it. You got to find people. Chiefs with 14 sacks on the year. Wanted it had to be better. You look at San Francisco, 24 sacks. It's a difference maker. We saw last week in our game the 3 sacks that Buffalo had proved to be the difference in the game at the key moments besides the pressures they had. So, yeah, I mean, it's something you got to keep working at. It's what player becomes free out there. How do you fit him in with the dollars and cents? You put it all together. And that's why hopefully Brett Veach has a way of finding another magical person to step in. And, Frank Clark, his health, that's another thing. Can he stay healthy enough during the year? So too many issues. So, yeah, that's the big question mark for the Chiefs. What's out there? It changes every day.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk of the Bears defensive end, Robert Quinn, trading for him, and Ndamukong Suh's out there as a free agent. So there's some guys out there. I don't know if Brian Burns is an option. Apparently, Adam Schefter came out today, the defensive end from the Carolina Panthers, Brian Burns, said somebody offered him 2 first-round picks, and the Panthers are like, we're not trading them. So that dream is probably dead for the Chiefs unless they want to give up 3, 4 first-rounders. Who knows? Brett Veach doesn't really like first round. He likes giving them away for Frank Clarkson and Orlando Browns. But we have a question here from Scott. Is it possible that we can take more snaps under center and try to commit to the run game better? Just for me, right off the bat, we have Andy Reid. I don't think that's going to happen. But Rich, you can answer that.
No, I don't think it's going to happen either. Listen, this is a pass offense, but I think Andy Reid knows. I mean, he's going to look at this film just like what he did before the Tampa Bay game. And the one thing this offense needs this year, when you don't have a Tyreek, when you don't have a player of his ability, as we see number 1 in the NFL in receiving, But when you do not have a player of that explosive nature that at any moment can take a simple RPO pass 80 yards for a touchdown, you have to have a balance in your offense. I understand what Kelsey's about and what he can do for his team, but this team needs a balance. And when you are one side in this game, you saw what happened in Buffalo. Eventually, Patrick can't do enough. The sidearm throws, the scrambling, it ends up catching up to you because why? You're only seeing half the field because you're running for your life. When you can set your feet and have total vision and then move, much easier to make a big play. So I just think they got to come out today and find a way to get balanced. They've got to find a way. Listen, they've brought in a lot of different runs. Against Tampa, they had the toss sweep. They had the quick pitch, the counter. There were so many different ways of attacking that defense, and it was so effective. Hopefully today they do this against San Francisco, because if you think you're going to sit back and even with a banged up Nick Bosa, you're going to throw the ball 50 times and not get your quarterback smacked, it's going to be a long afternoon.
Yeah, and you brought up Patrick Mahomes there. We have kind of a graphic here from Patrick Mahomes, some fourth quarter woes here. 54.9 passer rating, worst in the NFL. 2 game interceptions now, the Colts game here and this Buffalo game. What do we make of this, Rich? I mean, you kind of alluded to the offensive line and some of the problems they've had and maybe not being able to create the balance, and just the receivers here so far not being able to gain separation. I think Noah had pointed out a couple weeks ago that this was the lowest percentage of getting separation of any team in the NFL, these Chiefs receivers. So is this a work in progress? What do we make of this offense right now as they are still trying to gel and come together with these new players?
Well, I think, as I said before, as I rambled on before, without a Tyreek, sometimes you just get away with not being an effective, balanced team because one play can change the whole dynamic of the game. When in this offense now, if you're going to go vertical, it's going to take you more time. It's going to take time for receivers to get to the level where they need to be, read the defense, make their adjustments in their routes. I think some of the times when you're looking at Patrick, just doesn't have the time to set his feet and able to let those routes develop. So as I said, without a Tyreek speed that can maybe catch the ball in stride in a 1 or 2 step drop by Patrick and then be gone, and you change the whole dynamic because now you put 7 points back on the board that quick. The Chiefs have to have sustained drives. We have not had as many explosive plays this year. Juju Smith had a nice play in the game, but still the consistency and the amount of them that we've had in the past, Tyreek. So that's what I'm saying. It's got to be a balance, and it has to find a way at different ways. And I just wish Andy would, in certain situations like 3rd and 7, whatever, why not quick pitch it? Why not run a quarterback sweep or run an end around with anybody? Juju Smith, something different. You saw Buffalo do that at the end, but of course you've got Josh Allen, who's as big as a tank, and you can do that. I don't want to do that all the time, Patrick, but still, there's ways of protecting your offense line. Give them a chance. Just don't let them have to sit back in there, because what we're seeing in this offense, when you struggle, what do you have to do? Max protect. Keep a running back in, a tight end in. Now you don't have as many people getting out in the routes. They can bracket people, or they just keep people. They'd only drop 8. You just keep bodies in the way of your quarterback being able to throw the ball to places. So it all ties together, and I just hope today that Andy understands. Of course he knows that this offense, to be effective, has to be able to do both, pass and run. However you do it, whatever plays you call, it's just got to be effective. You cannot have the majority of running plays like last week, Buffalo, 2 or less yards. In the red zone, 3rd and 2, and a 2nd and 1, and we get stuffed in the red zone. That is unacceptable for the Kansas City Chiefs. You are not going to the playoffs on a 3rd and 2 or a 2nd and 1 in red zone. You don't get positive yards. Unacceptable to me. You don't deserve to win the game. And that's how close these games are, guys. You get in the red zone, you come away with the interception, you're probably going to lose the football game. Kansas City Chiefs did lose the game.
Well, we've talked about the inability to get the run game going. We talked about the struggles of the offensive tackles, the lack of separation in the receivers. It's more than just one thing with Mahomes' fourth quarter woes. But would this help? There's been a lot of talk. Odell Beckham might be ready late November, early December. Do the Chiefs need Odell is my question to you, Rich.
You know, with the history of his background, is it I don't know. I think at that point, he scares me with his personality. A lot of young players on this team, You're trying to keep this team's always had a tight locker room. You've got a leader in Patrick. Do you bring somebody in like Odell? I just think he carries baggage, and it scares me. Now, I know he went to the Rams last year, had a good year, no question about it, but I just worry about him and what he represents. And when maybe you're an up and down team, maybe you're still struggling at that point. Every week it's going to be a challenge. Is he the type of player that will really be a team player, or does he just, I don't know. Is he like fingers on a chalkboard behind the scratch? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I understand his ability and everything, and maybe the Chiefs can be able to get him into the offense. We know it'd be effective, but it's just I think he carries a lot of baggage, and I don't know if the Chiefs want that at that moment.
Yeah, very interesting, and we'll see how things play out there. We'll see how things go today. 3:25 Chiefs at San Francisco. Well, I guess it's not at San Francisco anymore. They've moved up to like San Jose. I can't keep track of it. It's way up there somewhere, Rich. Not in Candlestick Park, where the Chiefs haven't actually won in San Francisco since 1971. But before we get into our predictions, let's get your keys to victory, my friend.
Well, luckily we're not in Candlestick Park, so
right.
We probably should put one up there. That was always a tough place to play, a swampy field, a formage garbage dump underneath. It created a lot of problems, but I won't go into that. But I just think, guys, when the Chiefs have the ball on offense, it's an O-line Sunday. I mean, you go back, even the games we've won, the games we've lost, it's not been good enough for our front five. It has to be better. Joe Thuney's the leader up there, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Wiley, and of course Orlando. They've got to set the tempo. They have to be the guys we have to hang our hat on if we're going to be successful this year. And when the 49ers had the ball, just no run game for the Niners. Folks, last week we didn't even talk about this. Buffalo over 100 yards rushing. The Chiefs have been one of the best. And after this game, then you go to the Titans, and then you've got Jacksonville with Robinson and Etienne, and then you go to the Chargers with Austin Eckler. So this is not over with. And believe me, today's going to be a challenge for Chiefs defense. You get 49ers get any type of run game going, this could be trouble for the Chiefs defense going through the rest of the season, because they say the records on these teams, but we know in the past where the Chiefs have struggled in the run defense, and it could prove costly. So today will be a real challenge for them against this new this offensive line that's finally back and healthy and playing together.
Yeah, we've got a comment here from Scott. Can we never see another delayed handoff on 2nd and 10 ever again? And the last time the Chiefs kind of did that and it worked and I liked it was Trent Green doing that with Priest Holmes and Tony Richardson and that great offensive line. That delayed handoff work. It used to work with Marcus Allen back in the day, but this regime, this era, Andy Reid, the delay handoff, I'm ready to bury it as well.
Yeah, I think look for Andy today to try to get a lot of shifts and motions going. I think he's going to try to get himself in position, get the defense out of whack. But listen, that guy over there, defensive coordinator, I think is eventually going to end up being a head coach, is DeMeco Ryans.
Yes.
I remember calling his games when he was down in Houston, when I was at CBS. This is a guy that understands where to put people in. So it's going to be a chess match today between him and Andy. But look for Andy to get the better of this. I think he's going to get us in position and be able to get the numbers in the box where we're going to be able to be effective. And again, guys, we get any type of establishment in the running game, Patrick just becomes a nightmare. There is no way you're going to be able then to stop him. But if you make it a one-dimensional game, look for those safety blitzes down the hash coming after him, to box him in, the pressure, the blitzes. It becomes a long afternoon.
Well, Noah, we gave our predictions earlier in the week on our Arrowhead Allies show, but let's see if things have changed here as we are now at game time, as game time approaches. So, you know, we, I think both picked kind of comfortable wins for the Chiefs. Now, kind of things have changed in that. In the meantime, they acquire Christian McCaffrey. They've got a lot of players back from injury. Noah, starting with you, predictions here. Are we sticking with what we had earlier in the week, or are you growing a little cautious here?
Yeah, they're healthier than I thought they would be. It still remains to see whether Ward and Talanoa Hufanga, their safety and corner, come out and play. If they do, boy, that's going to be tough. Hufanga's just all over the field. Like I mentioned earlier, a Troy Polamalu type that could give the Chiefs some fits back there and Patrick Mahomes and kind of trick him and fool him. And he's got a lot of athleticism that he can break in front of routes. So we just saw that in the game in Buffalo. But I still have the Chiefs pulling this out. I think they're going, I think Pacheco starting. I think he's going to give them just kind of some boost, some energy out of the running back position just with how physical he runs the football. And I think they're going to get the passing game going. I think they're going to have a tough time covering Travis Kelce. I think Jimmy Ward is going to be tasked with that. Their safety, and he's coming back. He's got a club on his left hand. We saw that with Neil Smith, but a defensive lineman is a little different than a safety run around there with a club. So I think they get the passing game going. They're a little light in the secondary. 2 guys, maybe, even if they're out there coming back from an injury, nursing that. So I say 27-23, Chiefs get the win.
Yeah, I like this. I like the fact I like this team, rising to the occasion coming off of a loss. We saw after the Colts game, the focus going on the road to Tampa Bay, controlling that game from the opening kickoff after a fumble. So I like this team on the road. If you look through the stats, we're going to have to do some number scrunching, but if you look through Patrick Mahomes' career, this team going on the road is a different animal in a good way, which is kind of unbelievable. Just coming off of 2 home games, close win over the Raiders. Rich mentioned giving up 100 yards rushing against Buffalo last week. He also did it against the Raiders. So that's going to be a huge key. Is it going to be 3 weeks in a row of getting gashed in the run without Tershawn Wharton? I still like the Chiefs. I like a 31-24 type game for the Chiefs. San Francisco was, I think, 5th ranked, the 5th ranked defense as far as scoring going into last week. They gave up 28 points there to the lowly Falcons on the road. I think there's points that can be had here. Look for some turnovers. This young secondary is going to learn today, just like they did a week ago. They're coming along. I like the Chiefs 31-24 here. Rich, tell me that that's just going to work out just fine for me.
Well, buddy, Mizzou got their win last night, so good things are going to happen, right? I mean, that sets the tempo for us today, right?
That's
Ready
right.
to go on that one. Well, guys, listen, I changed my shirt today, so I'm going with the Led Zeppelin. And
great.
Bonzo, the greatest drummer of all time, always said he never used any type of but the hardest sticks, because he said when you hit your drums, you want to hit them hard. Well, that's the philosophy today for the Kansas City Chiefs. They need a little Bonzo there in the background and everything. I look for a win today of 28-17. Listen, Kelce is going to be magical today. Jimmy Ward with his hands not going to be able to lock up with them. And the other thing, Charvarius Ward looks like he's out. So who's going to cover Juju Smith on the outside? I think this is a game where Juju Smith can have a couple big plays in the game and be a difference maker, where we're looking for those explosive plays and get the points where we need to be. Chiefs then can maybe get their running game, become more balanced, not have to sit there, be on the road and try to throw against this very good defensive front. So I look for some big explosive plays from him. But as I said, Chiefs scored 28, come out with victory on the road today.
We're looking forward to that because, like Clint mentioned, the Chiefs 1-6 in their history at San Francisco. The last win coming in 1971. We said that. So we've got to right this ship. We got to get a win in San Francisco. It's been a long time, way too long. And just before we get out of here, one last question. What are the odds that the CEH gets traded kind of since he's losing his starting job here? At least it appears for this week.
In today's salary cap, the numbers and where things are going, it's so hard to make those predictions. Nobody knows exactly how many pennies are in the piggy bank for these pro teams. So what you're looking at in the future, what you think you need, where you need to be, I wouldn't even want to make a guess anymore. And that's what makes this game so difficult. In the past, you used to be able to make, not know now. So it'll be tough. It'll be tough. But I just look, hopefully the Chiefs in the next couple weeks find another player that comes in and helps them off the edge rushing the passer. Because basically, guys, any level you go to, the first thing the coaches always tell you is that, hey, I've got a rotation of defensive players that can apply the heat. So right now, the Chiefs down a little bit. Hopefully that's where I think they go in the future here in the next couple weeks and finding somebody to help them up front.
Well, guys, we always appreciate you joining us here on Kingdom Kickoff, and it's always wonderful when we can have our good friend Rich Baldinger join us as well to set the scene like only he can do for what is going to be a picturesque NFL Sunday.
Roll, folks.
Hope
Rock
everybody
and roll live, and the Bonzo doing it. Going to have some today in San Francisco.
I think you're right, my friend. Thanks so much for your comments, for joining us here, and we will be back next week on Kingdom Kickoff, hopefully talking about, we have a bye week next week, guys. Where's my head out? Hopefully we're talking about a 5-2 Chiefs team heading forward as the Tennessee Titans will be the next opponent, but that won't be for 2 weeks. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Kingdom Kickoff.
All right.